This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
That they missed the Electoral College, which is what really matters in the whole thing. So then you have to start digging down into these state polls and see where the problems were and which ones were way off.
Way off across the board. Despite being told for weeks that Hillary Clinton would win, it was Donald Trump who walked away with the Electoral College victory and the presidential election. Tonight, we'll hear from the director of Florida Polling Institute about how much we should actually rely on polls and how they could become more accurate going forward. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the problems with polling coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. A day that still lives in infamy. 75 years after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, we remember on the Suncoast and across the nation. From Washington, D.C. to New York and, of course, the Arizona Memorial in Hawaii, veterans, families, and survivors are reflecting on that day that launched the U.S. into World War II. 2,400 Americans were killed and nearly 1,200 more were wounded. Former prisoner of war John McCain spoke of the bravery of the men and women on that day.
They fought the first battle and set the first example in the long campaign of America's enlightened leadership of the free world.
President Obama will head to Pearl Harbor later this month to meet with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, the first Japanese leader to visit since the end of the war. There are survivors from Pearl Harbor right here on the Suncoast, including 95-year-old Lester Gensler, who was awakened that infamous day by the sounds of exploding bombs.
I don't have too much memory, but I know I was scared for my life. And that's why I grabbed my rifle, because I had the only protection I had. Everybody says Pearl Harbor, but they hit all over that island.
Gensler says he doesn't often speak of the attack, but says it's important for people to remember the men and women who died on that day. It could happen to anyone, but because of events across the nation, the routine traffic stop by police has become the source of angst for many motorists. Well, Sarasota Sheriff's Office is launching a new effort to give the public tips on how to handle a traffic stop. In the new public service announcement, deputies explain their perspective on the ideal behavior during traffic stops. They recommend staying calm, keeping your hands on the wheel, and following instructions from deputies. The video aims to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community, but some members of the local NAACP say it perpetuates the idea victims did something wrong during recent police shootings.
You can do the right thing and you can still get in trouble. And they are absolutely correct, because there's too many incidents that we know that people complied and still were shot down or murdered.
Others are saying this kind of communication is key to building a better relationship with law enforcement. Now to Palmetto, where graduate students from the University of South Florida are teaming up with the city. Palmetto was recently chosen for USF's Community Sustainability Program. The year-long effort will pair students studying architecture, criminal justice, and civil engineers with city officials. The goal is to provide fresh perspectives for old problems.
You don't get that many opportunities to have that much brain power chugging together to propel a city along. So it's fantastic for the city of Palmetto.
The project runs through the end of the spring semester. In May, city officials will then work on ways to build on students' input. New College of Florida is also launching a partnership of its own with Selby Gardens in Sarasota. The Botanical Gardens will share science facilities with New College's education and research departments. Students will also be able to work with botanists directly on issues of conservation and public outreach. Tomorrow, a rare opportunity in Venice. The public gets a chance to have a real say in the planning and design of the new public library. Sarasota County will be hosting 2 meetings to update the public on where the plans currently stand. Architects will also be there to answer questions. The meetings will take place tomorrow at the Venice Community Center at 10:30 and 6 p.m. It was bigger than ever. The second annual Waterfest in Englewood last month. Organizers say the powerboat races attracted around 20,000 spectators this year and brought in an estimated $80,000. Organizers are thanking the cooperation of both Sarasota and Charlotte counties, as well as the help of 200+ volunteers, including Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Helped out there. I'll tell you, it was a great time. Lots of events taking place. You know, we had the Friday, a chance to meet and greet the boat, the drivers and some of the boats, get them see them up close personal. And the races Saturday and Sunday, it was a lot of fun. So it's good to hear that it'll be back next year. And it's always a great time. November, usually a very dry month, and we saw that this past November with no rain at all reported across parts of the Suncoast for the month of November. Different story yesterday, though. We did get some rain. Not much at Inglewood, but we had some rain around. This is a Casey Key webcam in time-lapse. Alan, showing a nice sunset tonight, fair skies, and sea's running a little high, but not too bad out there. And it looks like we'll see nice weather tomorrow in terms of no rain around, but the clouds will be on the increase. We'll see that associated with a frontal boundary approaching the Suncoast. Right now, we see some high clouds moving in across North Tampa. That's associated with the subtropical jet stream, which is racing across the Gulf of Mexico now. At 30,000 foot level, we have about 150-mile-an-hour winds right now, so that's pretty active. And as far as our current conditions go, we have fair skies, 67, the dew point, 62, winds out of the north-northwest at 6, the pressure way up there, 30-10, and that continues to rise. Now, there are some showers west of Key West along that frontal boundary that moved through yesterday. It's hanging down to our south. No rain here. It'll stay dry, too, it looks like, as we move through time. Dew point temperatures are starting to come back up a little bit, so our lows tonight will be still above average, but it'll be nice start tomorrow morning with lows in the upper 50s basically across our region. The hourly forecast does call for fair skies overnight. The only downside may be some fog forming, especially inland areas. We had it this morning. It was rather thick in some areas. A dense fog advisory may be issued again tomorrow, just so keep that in mind if you're commuting early.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, if you follow the presidential polls, the election of Donald Trump probably shook your faith in their accuracy. So how much should we trust those numbers going forward? That story when we come back.
Download ABC7's free all-new news app at your app store today.
Batteries Plus bulbs keep stacks of batteries for cars, cell phones, watches, plus light bulbs for lamps, can lights, and appliances right on hand. Did I mention we also repair smartphones? Batteries Plus bulbs. Trust the plus. Visit Batteries Plus bulbs today.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-652-3012. That's 1-800-652-3012. Call now 1-800-652-3012. For a free brochure, call 1-800-652-3012.
You've seen me roll for 100 G's, but I got a little more than dough riding on this one. They call you Lady Luck, but there is room for doubt. At times you have a very unladylike way of running out. And so the best that I can do is pray. Luck, be a lady tonight.
Don't miss the 19th annual Thunder by the Bay Motorcycle Festival, January 5th through the 8th, to benefit Suncoast Charities for Children. This year's festival welcomes special guest Blue Oyster Cult to the premier sports campus at Lakewood Ranch on January 8th at 4 p.m. Admission is free. Festival events include a sporting clay tournament, kickoff party, welcome Thunder event, Cruise for Cash charity motorcycle ride, and a 2-day Rockin' and Ridin' at the Ranch festival featuring vendors, live music, a taste of Thunder area, and more. VIP tickets are available. For tickets and info, visit thunderbythebay.org.
If anyone had the pulse of Florida voters leading up to the election, it sure wasn't the pollsters. They were wrong, not only here, but in other key battleground states. How did they get it so wrong? We asked Dwayne Lindo to find out. Dwayne.
Well, Alan, with so many different types of pre-election polls out there, you would think there were a few that came close. Nationally, that was the case. But some state polls had no realistic path for Trump with a victory. Now experts are finding out exactly what was overlooked.
For Audrey Martin of Sarasota, the reason pre-election polls didn't predict Donald Trump the winner of this year's historic presidential election is simple.
There were a lot of people in the background who didn't voice their opinions going through the time period.
According to University of South Florida political professor Eric Hodges, that's part of the reason some pre-election presidential polls were wrong. He says national polls, which reflect what the popular vote will be, were pretty accurate on average.
Clinton actually won the national popular vote by 2.5 million votes, which, actually comes pretty close to that, 3 to 4% margin that a lot of the national polls are actually saying that she was going to win by.
But according to New College political professor Keith Fitzgerald, the state polls were a different story.
Which meant that they missed the Electoral College, which is what really matters in the whole thing. So then you have to start digging down into these state polls and see where the problems were and which ones were way off.
Experts say there were a few big factors that many state pollsters overlooked.
They underestimated the turnout of one major group, and that was white working class people with less education than college. They showed up in big numbers on the day of the election.
Fewer African Americans turned out to vote, and fewer voted for Clinton. But that's not all.
You got a much higher support level among Hispanics than was expected. I think 35% of Hispanics actually supported Donald Trump.
Also a trend polls would not pick up.
The hidden Trump factor, which it's in political science is known as the Bradley effect. And essentially it says that people are ashamed or embarrassed to actually admit in a poll or survey that they're going to vote for a particular person.
And with such a diverse population, it can be a challenge for pollsters to get a true representation of America, especially using a particular method.
If you use a phone, which most national surveys do, you're more likely to get an older audience, right, which can skew your results. If you're using online surveys, you're going to be more likely to get younger voters.
The bottom line, says Hodges, opinion polls are snapshots of a sentiment at a given time, not a foolproof prediction.
A lot of us thought a couple of weeks out that we definitely knew what was going on, but if this election taught us anything, it's to expect the unexpected.
It's not the polls that count, says Martin. It's what takes place on Election Day.
I think the people spoke. I think they were just ready for that change.
Now, the key is using these polls as a starting point and a gauge, as numbers can fluctuate from week to week.
All right, Dwayne, thank you. When we return, we'll be speaking with the director of the Polling Institute at St. Leo, along with a political scientist and a reporter on our roundtable. Stay with us.
On horrendously cold nights, on days when the rain has been relentless, or when the sun is beating down, there is an animal trapped with no protection, fighting to stay alive. Time is running out for them, but you can help save them by joining the ASPCA today. With your donation of just $18 a month, you'll help rescue abused and neglected animals, provide them with food, shelter, and medical care. When you go online or call in the next 10 minutes, we'll send you this free membership kit and our limited edition 150th anniversary t-shirt. It's just 60 cents a day to pull animals out of a terrible life. Don't let them suffer another day. Please help now.
The official salon of ABC7.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope.
and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
Welcome back. If the polls were right, we'd be talking about President-elect Hillary Clinton. So how did they get so wrong? With few exceptions, the final round of public polling showed Hillary Clinton with a 1 to 7% point lead. Pew Research identified 3 factors that could have contributed to the error. Low income and poorly educated voters are less likely to respond to polling calls because of what is called the non-response bias. There may have also been shy Trumpers who didn't want to make their choice for the Republican known. Pew also says the way it could also be difficult to identify people who will actually vote. So how can pollsters overcome these issues? And joining us for more is Mitch Perry, who writes for FloridaPolitics.com, Frank Orlando, the director of St. Leo University's Polling Institute, and Keith Fitzgerald, a professor of political science at the New College of Florida and the former state representative. I've really been looking forward to this show because for political junkies like this, we rely on those polls day and hourly going into the election, and then we got a completely different result. So we'll have to start with the pollster. And one of the things that people have been telling me is that the polling model that was relied on was basically the 2012, the last presidential election. And then as a result, more Republicans came out this year and fewer Democrats. Is that right?
Well, thanks for having me on. Great to be here. I would say that nationally, the pollsters weren't that far off on their model. So I think let's not attack the pollsters too much right off the bat. So I'll stick up for us. But in some of our state models, which is what matters, the Electoral College, there were mistakes on identifying the proportions of people that were turned out. In particular, white working class voters. We assumed that that turnout wouldn't be as high as it was in 2012, and perhaps in Midwestern states, African American turnout would be at the levels it was in 2012. That wasn't the case, and because of that, in places like Milwaukee and Wayne County, where Detroit is in Michigan, and in Ohio and around the Cleveland area, without that turnout, right, that spelled disaster for Hillary Clinton.
Was there no mechanism to pick up and utilize what a lot of us were hearing? Mitch, you covered this election. I know a lot of my friends, especially my Republican friends, saying, "Hey, listen, there are a lot of us out there," and I had one friend saying, "I don't know anybody supporting Hillary," and I kind of poo-pooed them. But that's, in fact, what happened.
Well, you're right. In fact, I remember we were both at the same rally, the Trump rally you had at the big amphitheater in Tampa about 2 weeks before the election. When I went to all these Trump rallies, I'd always interview, and just saying that the Hillary people, interview all the people, as much as people as possible, people that, why are you supporting your candidate? Talked to somebody at that event who said he drove from Pennsylvania to Tampa, and he said he saw hundreds of Trump signs and not one or maybe one Hillary sign. And reporters, we're supposed to not take those anecdotal stories as proof of anything. We've been told signs out there in the yards, that doesn't really mean anything. But this time around, it probably did mean something, obviously, in retrospect. I mean, you kind of indulge these people, okay, yes, that's what you're hearing, that's what you're saying. But then again, you think about it, and again, from Pennsylvania to Florida, there's a lot of red states there anyway, right? So maybe I went up thinking that, okay, that makes sense that he's seeing that. But right, there was always that sense. I remember that. I saw a pollster here in Florida say after the primary that, in fact, there was a surge of people who signed up to be a Republican voter this time around, and that was maybe a little bit the hidden Trump voter that people really were talking about, that early on. But again, we didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Keith, you're on the inside of the party here in Florida. Was there any indication in the days leading up to the election that something was happening?
Not really. In fact, the Democrats felt pretty good about the early voting numbers, the vote by mail and the early vote side of the election numbers were looking really good. And I think that and I was fooled just along with you and everybody else in trusting these aggregators of all the polls. I think the outcome tells you something really important about why the Trump campaign won. It tells you about strategy and tactics. Campaigns matter. What they did in the final days of the campaign is they focused all their resources in mobilizing voters who might not vote in a few states, and they did a really good job at it. They focused their message on working class white people, and they got people who don't always vote, maybe never voted before to vote. And the Hillary Clinton campaign, unfortunately for them, zigged when they should have zagged, because they chose to close on the message of, with the same policies, they could have framed it in two different ways. They decided to say, we're trying to bring in groups who've been excluded, because they were trying to mobilize African Americans, Hispanics, and women. Unfortunately, the Trump people were focusing their message on white working class people who may have felt alienated from that message.
All right, we are just getting started here. We have much more to get into on this subject, but when we return, we'll take a look at our weather forecast, so stay with us.
This is a special health alert for seniors suffering with joint pain. If you have Medicare insurance, you may qualify for high-quality support braces at little or no cost.
I'm thrilled with my knee braces.
Now, there is a simple and proven solution for seniors to get out of pain with state-of-the-art support braces.
I barely feel any pain at all.
Braces for your knees and back, as well as your shoulders and ankles, too.
I'm so happy with the quality of these braces.
Call now, and you could qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
I can play ball again, and it doesn't hurt.
And because of my Medicare coverage, it costs me next to nothing.
So call now.
And because I have this red, white, and blue Medicare card, my braces have cost me just about nothing.
It's true. You may get a knee, back, shoulder, and ankle brace at little or no cost.
They qualified me for 2 knee braces and a back brace.
If you have knee or back pain, give them a call. They can help.
1-800-476-8967. 1-800-476-8967.
Whether you're a homeowner looking for a professional installation or a contractor looking for top quality products, Sarasota Glass and Mirror can meet your every need.
For 42 years, Sarasota Glass and Mirror has been the area's premier supplier and installer of quality glass products for your home or business. As an authorized PGT WinGuard dealer, we know how to protect your home with everything from the PGT WinGuard impact-resistant windows and doors to shower enclosures and decorative mirrors. The Sarasota Glass and Mirror team has the knowledge to tackle any project.
Selling your home? Insist on a 3D showcase tour from Gulf Shores Realty. Virtual tours are flat and boring and look more like a slideshow than a tour. A 3D tour from Gulf Shores Realty is like actually walking through the home without the drive. Get instant access to your next home from any device. Multiple views give homebuyers a perspective like no other. For a limited time, mention ABC7 and Gulf Shores Realty will provide a complimentary 3D tour with your new listing.
Are you considering joint replacement or revision surgery? Consider this. Dr. Edward Stolarski has performed thousands of successful joint replacement procedures and trained surgeons from all over the world. Using advanced technologies, Dr. Stolarski is able to perform some of the most complex surgeries.
I wish I knew about Dr. Stolarski much sooner.
After the surgery, I don't have any pain. It's like I've got a 16-year-old hip.
My name's Ed Stolarski. What I really do is I give people back their life.
Schedule a consultation today.
We'll have much more on our roundtable on polling coming up, but right now let's get a check on our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A beautiful sunset tonight from KC Key. Looking at the time lapse there, you can see the waves up a little bit, but not too bad. Boating seas are running 2 to 3 feet for the most part. Similar conditions again tomorrow, and it looks as though we will see a chance for showers on Thursday. More so late Thursday night and Friday morning when another cold front is due to arrive. The one that moved through yesterday that brought us some beneficial rains over parts of the Sun Coast is now kind of hung up down to our south. It's a stationary front. There are a few showers just to the west of Key West, but that's about it. Rain chance for Thursday, not all that high. It's at 30%. Breezy and colder on Friday, so get your jackets and sweaters ready. You're going to need those. And then a progressive pattern, meaning that we're going to see a series of cold fronts move through every 3-4 days now, it looks like, for the least the next 10 days or so. That's what the models are suggesting anyway. And this one moving through Friday morning will be pretty cold. but it's only going to be around for about 36 hours, and then temperatures will start to moderate a bit quickly. Right now, no rain here. Some showers down to our south. I mentioned these are legitimate showers to the west of Key West right now. Our current conditions, fair skies, 67 degrees, the dew point temperature at 62, and winds are out of the north-northwest, rather light, and the pressure way up there, 30-10, and that continues to rise right now. And as far as the high goes, it's still warmed into the upper 70s for the most part in some inland areas, mid-70s at the beaches, and right at 76 at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. That's 1 degree above average. 59 was the morning low. That too running high despite the presence of a cold front yesterday. Wasn't much of a cold front. It did bring us some rainfall though. Over an inch reported at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. Not much in Inglewood. Northport didn't report much rainfall there yesterday, but some areas, especially in Manatee County, getting some beneficial rains out of that. 59 degrees, dew point temperature now in Jacksonville. Orlando at 58. A little bit more moisture down south, so the dew point higher there in Key West at 76, and Miami now at 73. The actual temperatures in the mid-50s to upper 50s over the Panhandle. 71 now in Orlando. It's 79 in Miami, and temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees near the coast. A little bit cooler in Lake Placid, Sebring, as well as into Wauchula now at 69. Bradenton, you're at 65 degrees. Well, this is the wind forecast, and it is indicating also some fog around tomorrow morning. There could be some fog, especially north of our area near Interstate 4 and I-75. That fog could be rather thick to start things off in the morning. And then we'll still see that northerly wind flow throughout the day. Satellite and radar review not showing much rainfall yet, but the subtropical jet stream very active right now across the southern plains states and across the Gulf of Mexico. And for that matter, with that in play, we're going to see another area of low pressure develop on Thursday, which will sweep a stronger front our way on Friday. The air is so dry, though, in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, we're not anticipating a lot of rainfall with this system as it makes its way through. Tomorrow, those clouds will be right on the cusp of Charlotte County, making their way northward throughout the day. So expect some increase in cloudiness, a chance for showers late in the day, and then especially on Friday morning early, getting out of here fairly quickly by sunrise on Friday. North winds 5 to 10 knots for boaters. Seas will be 2 to 3 feet. Those winds will pick up a bit in the afternoon, up to about 15 knots. The water temperature at 73 degrees. And the forecast looks like this for the next 7 days. A slight chance, I mentioned, for rain tomorrow late, 40% chance Friday early morning, and then turning cooler and breezy on Friday. Alan will be right back after this. Stick around.
This is a special health alert for seniors suffering with joint pain. If you have Medicare insurance, you may qualify for high-quality support braces at little or no cost.
I'm thrilled with my knee braces.
Now, there is a simple and proven solution for seniors to get out of pain with state-of-the-art support braces.
I barely feel any pain at all.
Braces for your knees and back, as well as your shoulders and ankles, too.
I'm so happy with the quality of these braces.
Call now, and you could qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
I can play ball again, and it doesn't hurt.
And because of my Medicare coverage, it costs me next to nothing.
So call now.
And because I have this red, white, and blue Medicare card, my braces have cost me just about nothing.
It's true. You may get a knee, back, shoulder, and ankle brace at little or no cost.
They qualified me for 2 knee braces and a back brace.
If you have knee or back pain, give them a call. They can help.
1-800-476-8967. 1-800-476-8967.
Christmas Tradition by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
An important message for Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you receiving all the benefits available to you? Do you know there is money available to lower your Medicare prescription costs? Now's the time to find the coverage that's right for you at the right price. The way to do that is to explore your options. You can spend hours doing that yourself, or you can call Health Markets and let us do the legwork for you with no cost or obligation. We'll search a variety of plans from nationally recognized companies to find the coverage that's the best fit for you at a price that fits your budget, and we'll do it at no charge to you. Plus, you may be able to save money on prescriptions. We'll tell you if you qualify. Why pay a penny more than you have to for an insurance policy? Let us find you the right plan at the right price and see if you qualify to lower your prescription costs. Put our free service to work for you at no charge.
Call the number on the screen now to make sure you're getting all the benefits you deserve. Don't wait. Call now.
Welcome back. If you're joining us, we're discussing the issues with polling and why the media relies on them. Our guests tonight include Mitch Perry of FloridaPolitics.com, Frank Orlando of St. Leo University's Polling Institute, and Keith Fitzgerald, Professor of Political Science at New College of Florida. Frank, and I know the answer to this question, but can pollsters take into account the realities of what they are seeing in terms of campaigns on the ground? There were plenty of stories about disaffected voters. How can that figure into the polling models?
Well, it's a question that probably a lot of people in the public are asking, and it brought up a point that Mitch made earlier about the public saying, hey, I'm seeing all these yard signs, I'm seeing all this stuff, you know, how do you take these sorts of things into account? It's difficult to change your model on the fly like that during a campaign season, because then you're really making subjective judgments about what you're seeing and fiddling with your model, and I think that has a likelihood of introducing more error into your model.
You're taught not to put subjective opinions into to the modeling.
Right.
And as people who have been involved in campaigns, we've always been told, ignore yard signs. Yard signs don't get you votes, and they're not necessarily reflective of what was happening out there. Bottom line is there were a lot fewer yard signs around this year, but there were more Trump signs than Hillary.
Well, and also I heard stories about Trump supporters not wanting to put signs up there because, again, just like this hidden Trump vote, where it wasn't very popular to be supporting Donald Trump depending on where you're at. It certainly wasn't the problem in the Midwest or the South, but in even, you know, urban areas like Tampa Bay area where, you know, actually, big story, right? Trump won 10%, won by 10%. 3% over Barack Obama, over Clinton in Pinellas County, where 4 years ago, he won by 10%. It's an amazing turnaround in a county that's considered moderate to progressive, actually. So, you know, we saw some big changes here. Pasco County, it was 3%. I think Obama lost 4 years ago, and this time Trump won by 21%. So
I can speak to in Pasco County, driving around there up at St. Leo all the time. People are not afraid to have their Trump signs up there.
Right, yeah, but even then, you know, I have Republican friends who feared that Pasco County was turning blue when, in effect, it went the other way.
It went better than ever.
Keith, if you are with a political campaign, if you're a candidate or office holder, what do you do with these polls now to show you where you are?
Well, first of all, as a candidate, or if you're on a campaign, the horse race aspect of the poll is really not the value of it at all. You know, you would like to know where you are, but what good does it do you in allocating resources to know if you're 2 points behind or 2 points ahead? What you do use a poll for is to figure out what messages work the best, which ones do you not want to emphasize, which groups of people do you need to be paying more attention to, and who do you want to pay less attention to? How do you target your media and make your buys sensible? So you're really using polls for very different things. And I don't think any of these problems really would undercut the value of a poll from the standpoint of running a campaign.
But are the polls reflective accurately of those issues?
Well, you know, obviously you always want to, like, the internals of a poll are very important. Now, depending on sample size, and if you're a candidate, that depends on how many resources you're going to be able to invest in polling. If you can invest in a poll that has, you know, 2,000 people, you're going to get good internals on Hispanics, on African Americans. If you don't have the money to be polling those groups, then the internals become a little bit less useful because you just have a smaller sample size.
So weren't the polls that were out there showing that middle-income white voters were feeling that the economy and income inequality was not was foremost on their mind, and shouldn't the candidates have picked that up?
Well, I think one thing that maybe we underestimated on white working class voters, and also just white Republican voters in general, especially Republican women, we underestimated the effect that partisanship had on bringing them home by Election Day. And I think we were looking at all these internals.
One of the things I'd say in defense of the pollsters is that, remember, polls are taking place on a particular day, and they're usually reporting the last 3 days. These things changed a lot in the last 3 days.
Well, there are a couple of issues I want to get into. You hear headlines across the country, this is the end of polling, because it is becoming more difficult for pollsters to get an accurate read because people are harder to reach.
Right.
They rely less on landlines, more on cell phones.
Well, you know, that was a story actually before the primary season, because you had Brexit, you had David Cameron a couple years ago. There's some international polls where there's a big story thing that polling was a problem, and then in the primaries it was actually pretty good, except for Michigan, where Bernie Sanders had this incredible, miraculous win because everybody thought he wasn't going to win that. So now we're coming back to this, though, this argument about polling, because I think it made a comeback, if you will. A couple other things I want to say about this, though, Alan, about, and Frank said this about nationally, Hillary Clinton's lead right now is close to 1.9%. See, it's because California, they're still counting votes. So, you know, basically she's won the popular vote by 2%. If you go by, you know, plus or minus margin of 2 to 3%, it is actually not that, you know, disaccurate, if you will.
Right. Now, it turns out that St. Leo polling has come out with a new poll just today, including on some of the issues involving the election. Incredibly, that 69.3, almost 70% of Florida voters voted for Trump because they wanted change. 58, almost 60% of Florida voters thought that Hillary Clinton was corrupt, and that Comey's letter to the Congress from the FBI, that impacted 40% of Florida voters, and increases to Obamacare costs 38.9%.
Yeah, a lot of voters are going to, you know, after someone votes, sometimes people look to justify their vote.
Right.
And so, you know, some of those are inflated. But I think when you look at change, people looking for something different, that was definitely a message that Donald Trump had. He owned that.
Here are a couple of other of your findings in terms of forgiving your family and friends. 23.8% of Florida voters said that they have forgiven their family and friends. 41% have not.
I believe that. I do.
Well, one of the things that's happening is this divisiveness and partisanship is a far greater factor of life than it has been really since the 1860s. Not a good time to compare yourself with. And, you know, and I think that that's something we all need to start thinking about wherever you are in the spectrum.
Here is something else we have to start thinking about. How do we fix this? I mean, Frank, do you have any hope that 4 years down the road, somebody in your industry is going to figure out something so this does not happen again?
Look, and you know, I hate to defend polling, but we have been pretty accurate for a while. We were wrong on Brexit. We were wrong in the general election in certain states. But, you know, like you said, in our primary polls, we're pretty much right on. And the other thing I would say is this the end of polling? Is polling in trouble? As long as people want to know what's going on or guess what's going on, if the market is there, polling is going to continue to flourish. Now, are there challenges? Yes. Fewer people are answering phones, answering calls. It's tougher to get a hold of people. You know, there are all sorts of high quality and low quality polls and, you know, different issues. But I think maybe the public might not want to hear this, but one thing that will help the public understand polling is to understand error. And you have to understand that the polls aren't going to be right all the time.
Well, how do you fix the issues of being able to contact voters?
It's difficult to do, just because it's our sampling frame, how we reach voters, isn't what it was in the 1950s and 60s, right? In the 1960s, that was the golden era, really, of polling because everyone had a landline. It was easy to get a hold of them. Now we need to be more multimodal, and I would say this, news organizations should pay attention to polls that look at different methods. They should be looking at phone polls. They should be looking at online polls. Because if you're only looking at one sort of poll, then you could be introducing some sort of bias in your aggregation.
All right, we'll have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about plans to redevelop the Quay property, so stay with us.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you weeknights at 5.
For your plumbing, electrical, or air conditioning, and services is qualified, and service calls are free. Answer AndServices.com. AndServices.com.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop head that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. We promise we're more than a dealership. We're a destination with a movie theater, massage room, aquarium, cafe, and more. We promise to give you top dollar for your trade, even if you don't buy from us. And if you do, we promise you the best deal. Bring us any competitor's ad and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Whether a family member needs a little extra help around the house, assistance recovering from a hospital stay, or someone to check in on them throughout the week, Right at Home's in-home care is the answer. Your loved one deserves the right care, and now we need caregivers to help give the right care for the right reasons, the right way. At Right at Home, we're one of the only private home health agencies in this area with the opportunity to earn paid time off. If you're someone who loves helping people, take a look at our website and click on Jobs to join our team today.
Welcome back. After the 2016 election, it is time to rethink how much faith we put into the polls. Our guests join us now for final thoughts. Keith, I'll start with you because you've been involved with political campaigns. So what are these candidates going to do in terms of relying on them to give their let them know what their path is and situational awareness?
Well, so big perspective. Remember, most down ballot campaigns don't rely a whole lot on polling.
Because they can't afford it.
You can maybe afford 1 or 2 polls over the course of a campaign. And they're still very, very reliable in helping you figure out how you shape your message, who you need to talk to, where you need to improve, where you don't. None of that has changed by any of this.
And Mitch, you cover the people who are involved in races and the general public, and they are very skewed at this point. So do you see, the Democrats are still bleeding, the Republicans are proud, or what's going to happen in 2 or 4 years?
Well, I was just saying this about reporters, actually, because the pollsters have gotten beat up after this election, and so the media, right? Because people associate the media with somehow telling them that Trump was going to lose. I just think every reporter has to make sure that there's, as always, as responsible as possible on this stuff, because I'm not a prognosticator. I just try to literally report the facts. I think it's more than ever the media, because the spotlight is on us after this election, that we do that more thoroughly than ever.
Right. But you do refer to polls in practically every story.
Oh, I do. And I'm so sick of them, actually, that we have to do that, frankly.
And Frank, finally, is this a time of self-reflection in the polling industry?
I definitely think, pollsters were kind of in mourning after that day. Pollsters, I think people need to realize, as long as they're not working for a campaign, they don't care who wins. They really just care, like, are we going to get this right? So the fact that they didn't get it right, we're all thinking, how can we do our job better? But we know that the public want us to keep, getting more information out there.
And we're going to hold you to it. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you are saying about plans to redevelop the Quay property. On Monday, Sarasota City commissioners gave approval for a $1 billion project for the site, which has sat vacant for a decade. Construction could begin as early as next year and is expected to take 10 years to complete. Here is what some of you are saying. Jacqueline Bevan writes, we can afford that, but we can't build a homeless shelter? Yeah, we have our priorities right in Sarasota. Don't we have enough condos? Colleen Giles writes, well, that's just perfect. More people, more traffic, more noise. And since we left the view build itself right in the road, there is no space to widen the road to handle the extra traffic in an area that floods already. And Tony Thomas writes, is there anything wrong with green space? You remember trees, grass, birds? picnics, fishing? If you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news7. And FYI, want to watch past roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thank you to all our guests for being here tonight. Mitch Perry writes for FloridaPolitics.com. Frank Orlando is the director of St. Leo University's Polling Institute, and Keith Fitzgerald is a professor of political science at New College of Florida. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather. Plus, could Florida's Attorney General be appointed to the Trump administration? There's speculation around Pam Bondi, and she's not denying it. We'll have details in primetime headlines.
Batteries Plus bulbs keep stacks of batteries for cars, cell phones, watches, plus light bulbs for lamps, can lights, and appliances right on hand. Did I mention we also repair smartphones? Batteries Plus bulbs. Trust the plus. Visit Batteries Plus bulbs today.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
I owed the IRS $20,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
We saved our home and overcame the most powerful collection agency in the world.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 1-800-565-7740. That's 1-800-565-7740.
If you have a suspicion for harboring prostate cancer, we have a way of diagnosing by using an exquisite instrument called three-dimensional color flow power Doppler ultrasound. Using this system, we can identify abnormalities within the prostate that you could otherwise never detect. The Dottoli Cancer Center is the only center in the southeastern United States which has this technology. If you have prostate cancer, we will find it.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in just a moment, but right now, let's get a check on our weather from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Pretty nice night right now, Alan. Temperature is actually fairly comfortable at this hour. We are looking for a bit of a change, though, as we'll see a chance for rain return on Thursday. It's not much of a chance, but we will see a few showers, I think mainly later in the day and throughout the overnight. It will turn breezy and much colder Friday, and it looks as though temperatures will quickly rebound. We're in this fast pattern, though, with fronts moving down every few days now, and right now that front that moved through yesterday is well down to our south. Some showers well to the west of Key West and to the east of Key Largo. This is false echoes right there moving through the southern portion of the state. Currently, we have clear skies at 67 degrees. Dew point temperature is at 62, which means our low temperatures tonight will be generally upper 50s to low 60s. Winds are out of the northwest at 6, and the pressure pretty high, 30-10, and that continues to rise. The high today was above average, just 1 degree above it. And the low this morning, that too running high. 30 is the record set back in 1937, and 86 the record high set in 1972. Well, no rainfall to report today, although we saw our fair share yesterday in some places, especially north Sarasota and throughout much of western portions of Manatee County, where some areas getting an estimated 2 inches of rain. Now, the dew point temperatures tell the story. Right now, they're fairly low, but not too bad in Pensacola, Tallahassee, into the 50s in Orlando, 62-degree dew point temperature here, meaning that all things considered, our low temperatures tonight will be above average. As far as the actual temperatures go, it's 67 degrees here at Sarasota Bradenton Airport, 79 though in Miami, and 78 in Key West. Temperatures around the area, mid-60s well inland, upper 60s to right around 70 degrees from Venice, Englewood, Northport, and Punta Gorda. Bradenton near at 65 and Mayaca City at 69 degrees. Well, the satellite and radar picture not really depicting much going on. You see this very elongated cloud pattern right now making its way through Texas all the way up into Arkansas. Very active subtropical jet stream. And on top of that, a low pressure area will develop as this trough moves in. It will have a cold front associated with it. And this cold front will be the strongest of the season in terms of temperatures behind it. We will see a bit of a chill for about 36 hours, and then it's over. Temperatures will moderate a bit on Saturday night, and Sunday should be back above average by Sunday. The weather forecast tomorrow calling for that front to slowly drift northward, at least some overrunning occurring. And so the clouds will be near and increasing throughout the afternoon with a slight chance for a few showers. It's not going to be a rain out tomorrow at all, but we will see a few showers around. And then again on Friday morning, there's a chance for a few showers. But by late in the morning and afternoon, all those showers should be out of here. And then winds really starting to pick up out of the northwest. And some of this cold Arctic air spilling in, but not a lot of it. So we're going to be chilly, but not quite as cold as they are right now in Denver. It's 3 degrees there, the actual temperature. As far as the forecast goes for boaters, seas running 2 to 3 feet tomorrow with a moderate chop on the bays and inland waters. The water temperature near at 73 degrees. And as far as the forecast goes, for the next 7 days, I mentioned that frontal system coming through late Thursday and Friday. It cools things down. Highs on Friday only in the mid-60s and 72 on Saturday, back to 78 on Sunday. Prime time headlines with Alan. We'll be right back after this.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
I'm Stephanie Roberts. On Suncoast View, we meet 2 Suncoast young stars in their first Broadway tour of Annie, plus a Scout and Molly's fashion show and Madison's.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View. Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
For your plumbing, electrical, or air conditioning, and services is qualified, and service calls are free. And services.com, A-N-D, services.com.
They took that stress and that tension when I was particularly feeling very bad after that nasty car accident, and it was such a relief to know that I didn't have to bear that burden alone, that I had help.
Our goal is to not just get a satisfactory settlement on their case. We want them up on their feet, happy again. They've gotten their life back.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
Now for a look at your primetime headlines. Investigators have made 2 arrests connected to the massive wildfires that swept across Tennessee 2 weeks ago. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations is charging 2 juveniles with aggravated arson. The fires spanned several counties, killing 14 people and destroying more than 1,700 buildings.
Our promise is that we will do every effort to help bring closure to those who have lost so much.
Gatlinburg residents were finally allowed to return home today. The swaths of the tourist city were destroyed. It will reopen to the public on Friday. President-elect Donald Trump is meeting with a fair number of Democrats today, including President Obama's former chief of staff and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. ABC's Lana Zach has the latest.
I delivered to the president-elect and his senior advisor and his chief of staff a letter signed by 14 mayors that put together from across the country about our DACA students.
Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel is hoping President-elect Donald Trump will protect undocumented students whose parents brought them to the U.S.
They're trying to achieve the American dream. No fault of their own, their parents came here. They are something we should hold up and embrace.
Mr. Trump has sought President Obama's advice on some of his cabinet picks.
They've spoken several times since their face-to-face Oval Office meeting just after the election.
The president-elect promising he would be announcing more cabinet positions soon. Sources within the transition team say that the president-elect is likely to announce retired General John Kelly as the head of Homeland Security.
I believe we're in the process of putting together one of the all-time great cabinets that has ever been assembled in our nation's history.
Mr. Trump says he's further narrowed his choice for Secretary of State, and former rival Mitt Romney remains on the list. Meanwhile, the president-elect was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, an accolade he told NBC he celebrated.
Well, it's a great honor. It means a lot, especially me growing up reading Time Magazine, and it's a very important magazine.
The president-elect will be traveling to Iowa tomorrow. He has announced he will be tapping their long-standing governor, Terry Branstad, to be the next ambassador to China. Lana Zach, ABC News, Washington.
There is speculation Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi could join the Trump administration. Today, when asked if she would stay on as Attorney General, she told reporters she is, quote, not prepared to answer. Bondi was a staunch supporter of Trump and the first statewide elected official to back him. Bondi will reach her term limit as Attorney General in 2019. Governor Scott would appoint a successor if she leaves office early. Speaking of Governor Scott, today he is releasing an annual report on the state debt. It shows the Florida's debt decreased by $1.6 billion over the past fiscal year. State debt had jumped in 2015, primarily due to money borrowed to cover the expansion of I-4 in Central Florida. The most recent numbers from the end of June puts Florida's overall debt at $24 billion. State legislators are grappling with the legal challenges of revamping workers' compensation. Earlier this year, the Florida Supreme Court ruled parts of the system unconstitutional. Justices struck down limits on attorneys' fees for lawyers representing injured workers. Legislators say that will need to be to the top priority in the next session.
First order of business is our workers, to make sure our workers are made whole when they're injured and that they get the benefits and the compensation.
Legislators have already filed a bill allowing businesses to opt out of workers' compensation coverage. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.